So between the rain and the traffic noise behind me, the original video, the audio isn't very good. So as much as possible, I'm just going to do a voiceover. Plus, I was kind of rambling, so I can probably do it a little bit better than I did initially. Basically, I've been working with Delia on her recall since I brought her home, just rewarding her for coming when called. But it's not a very formal cue, which means that I don't use it in situations where I'm not okay if she doesn't respond immediately. So sometimes I call her and she finishes up sniffing something and then she turns around and comes back. Sometimes I have to call her more than once. So it's pretty good, and it has worked in like situations where I did need her to come back immediately, but it's not something that I count on, so that's why I want to train a more formal recall. So here I'm going to show you what her current recall looks like. So there you saw that she did come back, but I did have to call her more than once, and it wasn't like a lightning fast whipping around and coming back. So that's what her current recall looks like. That's why I say it's not a very formal cue. So while this less formal cue can work and has worked in situations where it was important she came right away, I want to train a more formal recall cue that will be a much more automatic response for her, where she will just whip around, come right back without thinking. So the tools that I'm going to be using for training this, first of all, I have a retractable leash, and then I also have this really high value like meal topper soft food thing that she's never had anything like that before, so it should be very high value and exciting for her. And I've got a whistle, which I did a little bit of conditioning with that in the same way that you would load a clicker if you've done that before. Basically just blew it and gave her chicken, and then blew it and gave her chicken, so that she began to associate the sound with a predictor of food. So now she has a slight positive association to it, but she doesn't know yet that it means come right away. And then the reason I'm using the retractable leash is that if she doesn't come back, I can lock it and kind of gently pull her back. So it just takes away the room for error, because basically I want her to learn that as soon as she hears the whistle, she's going to whip around and come back. There's not going to be any thought. That's going to take a lot of practice to get us to that point, but in the meantime, I don't want it to be an option for her to blow me off, so that's why the retractable lead really comes in handy. It just takes the error out of that. So my method here is just basically going to be throwing some food to send her away. Then I will, just wait till she's kind of occupied, blow the whistle, she'll come around, and then she'll get food. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And watch, this time I took too long to blow the whistle, so she was actually already coming back when I did blow it. So again, the goal with this is to keep practicing it to the point where she doesn't even think about it. She's not making a decision to come. It's just an automatic response, almost like a reflex. And that takes a ton of repetitions to get to that point. So I definitely wouldn't use this until I'm sure that she's going to respond that way. So we're going to practice a ton of times on the flexi leash, and then we're going to practice with her dragging a long line, and then we're going to practice with her off leash in like the backyard, like really low distraction environment, and just keep working up so she doesn't fail.
Good girl. See, she was actively eating when she heard it, and she still came back.
And then once we've gotten the cue to the point where it is a reflex, where she just whips around and comes back without even thinking about it, in order to keep that really, really strong, I'm going to make sure that she gets a hugely valuable reinforcer every single time. And she won't know what it is. And this is only going to be something that I pull out in emergencies also. So if I use this to call her back instead of just her casual cue, I expect that she comes back right away because it's an emergency. And then I'll reward her with one of these things of soft food, or maybe some baby food, or some something like that, something that's unexpected and really, really good, better than the normal treats she gets. So that's going to help to preserve this as a really strong cue. Now, the other thing is that as soon as she comes back, she gets the really, really good food, and then she gets to go back to the treats that are in the grass. So I'll do that in the real world too, whenever it's safe. If I have to call her away when she's sniffing something, I can send her back afterwards to sniff. So that, again, it's just really preserving that as a strong cue where there's no conflict. She's not missing out on anything. She just gets something really good, and then as long as it's safe, she still gets to do what she wanted. So here's something interesting. There's two ways to increase behavior. There's positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is when we add something that the dog wants more of, so it will increase their behavior in order to get more of that thing. Negative reinforcement is when we take something away and the dog wants the thing to go away, so they will increase whatever behavior makes the thing go away. So for negative reinforcement, we would use something unpleasant, painful, or at least annoying. My goal is that this is going to be positive reinforcement, that she has a happy association of treats with this whistle sound. But in the meantime, it's possible that she does find the high-pitched sound somewhat annoying, at least. I know I do. So just in case there's some negative reinforcement going on, I'm very careful to stop whistling as soon as she turns around and starts coming back so that I can potentially take advantage of that. But in the long run, I'm hoping that she'll have a very happy association with that sound, that she'll come running back right away to get the food. But it's just interesting to be mindful of how we're never just using one quadrant at once when it comes to operant conditioning. We're always, real life is kind of muddy. It's not like a laboratory. So it's possible that there's both positive and negative reinforcement at play here. So the other thing that we're always using at the same time that we can't really separate is operant and classical conditioning. So the classical conditioning is really just how the dog feels or what they associate with the stimulus. So I already started that process when in the backyard when I was just pairing the whistle with the chicken, so that the whistle started to predict the chicken, which means that all the good happy feelings she has about chicken transferred to the whistle. So that's classical conditioning. And then the operant piece is what the dog does to, like, how the stimulus is shaping the dog's behavior, basically. So she's going to start to learn that when she hears the whistle coming towards me, increases the good food that she wants. So that's positive reinforcement. And then, like we talked about, there's some potential negative reinforcement there. But as time goes on, that classical association of the whistle with the food is just going to keep increasing, and she's just going to have a better and better and stronger association of good things with that whistle. So what you saw that time is that she did hesitate, and I had to blow the whistle twice. So again, you see why we practice so many times to get this behavior to be reliable. It's not going to happen overnight. And that's also why I have her on the retractable lead at first, because it just increases her chances of success by restricting her option not to come back. If she doesn't come back, I can gently reel her back in.
Good girl.
And then this time I waited quite a bit longer before calling her back, just to kind of minimize how much she was anticipating it. I waited until she was really not paying attention.
Good girl.
Okay, so I was really happy with how that went today, and we're just going to keep practicing it a bunch more times. We're going to keep doing it on the retractable leash for a while, and then once she's really had a lot of history of that, we're going to start doing it on a long line, just dragging on the ground. So it's going to feel different, but I'll still have the control to reel her back in if she doesn't respond. And then we're going to do it off leash, but in really low distraction environments, and just keep working up. Until she's really solid with this cue, I'm never going to use it in the real world, only in these setups. And then once we do move into the real world, again, I'm going to make sure that she's highly reinforced every single time, only going to pull it out on rare occasions, just to keep it really, really strong. And most of the time, we'll just keep using her casual recall. But I'm really happy with how this went. I think it's going to keep going well, and I will definitely update. So a lot of what you're going to see in this video is just me having a very difficult time getting her to ignore me so that I can actually do an effective recall. Part of that is the retractable leash. We don't really use it for anything else, so that's what she associates it with, is the really yummy, awesome food that she only gets for recall training. But also, like I showed you in the off-leash hiking video, she just has a really high level of engagement anyway all the time, which makes it really, really difficult when I actually want her to ignore me. But we finally got it. I'm just going to speed through some of this so that the video doesn't have to be any longer than it's already going to be.
Good girl. Good job. Good job. I'm gonna try to wait until she's not anticipating as much, because right now she's just too savvy. And I really want it to be that in order for the whistle to be an effective cue, I really want it to be that the whistle is what's predicting the reinforcement opportunity, and not just, you know, any movement that I'm making, or kind of like an intake of my breath as I'm about to bring the whistle to my mouth, or anything I'm doing. I really want it to be the whistle itself that's the cue. So that's why I'm trying to kind of wait until she's tuned out, if that makes sense. Good girl. Good job.
Can't really hear me that well, so I'm just going to record over this. But basically, I was just saying that this should be like a really high value, exciting food that the dog only gets for this behavior. That'll really keep it strong. So for Delia, this like meal topper wet food thing that she only gets for this, she's never gotten it as a meal, so it's really exciting. And then also the jars of baby food are really good because you can actually close those back up. You don't have to use the whole thing. The ones that are like meat flavored, those are pretty exciting for dogs. She really goes crazy for that, the like ham and gravy and whatever. So those are options that work really good.
Good job. Good girl. You did a good job. The advantage of the whistle, the reason that I'm training this is to be her like really solid cue, is that if we're anywhere that it's noisy or she's pretty far away from me, it should carry better than my voice. And her normal recall cue is just kind of like I can't do it right now, but it's just kind of her name in a particular sing-song voice. So it carries a certain distance, but it's hard for me to do when I'm like worried or it's noisy. She stole like a big chunk of it. You turd. That's okay. That's what I get for not apportioning it out. Yeah, huh? Was that good? Alright, go. I'll make this last one really count. We're almost gonna do like one more rep. Good girl.
So there was actually one more session with the retractable lead, but apparently I don't have video of that, but you're getting the idea by now.
Good girl. So now I'm gonna put it away and we'll work on something else for a little bit so that she's not anticipating it quite as much. Good girl, good job. That was very nice. Good job. There's some cheese on your back. It blew onto it. Good girl. Good job. Good girl. Good job. Nobody's ever out here. Oh, there's somebody. Come on, Delia. Good girl. Come here.
Delia! Good job.